Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa Ho and welcome to our E-Open House. This year's theme is Be Agile, Be You, and we're right here in our beautiful Mokhtar Reddy building in NUS Business School. And today, this panel will be about entrepreneurship and innovation, as well as business economics, where you can find where will these specializations lead you to different career pathways. Of course, this video recording is in compliance with IMDA Phase 3 guidelines, in which the unmasking dispensations are kept to the fixed cast of not more than 10 talents at any given time. So I'm Vanessa Ho and I'm a Year 3 business student. I'm specializing in entrepreneurship and innovation and also marketing. And with me here today, I have Assistant Professor Ng Wei Yi from the Department of Strategy and Policy. He's representing the Innovation and Entrepreneurship specialization today. On top of that, we have Mr. Mark Gunn from the Department of Strategy and Policy, and he's representing the Business Economics specialization. We also have Chan Yi Huen, who's a BBA Year 2 student, and also Mr. Kenneth Lam, Senior Manager from the Biz Careers Office. Awesome. So today, all we're talking about is how different specializations will equip you students towards different career pathways. And in NUS Business School, we have 7 different specializations, namely Business Analytics, Business Economics, Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Finance, Leadership and Human Capital Management, Marketing and Operations, and Supply Chain Management. So, of course, to kickstart, I'll be asking a round of questions. But of course, if you have any questions along the way in the next 20 minutes, feel free to leave them down in the Facebook Live comments below. And we'll pick select few to ask our panel over here. Okay, so just to kickstart, the very foundational question. This one goes to Mr. Kenneth Lam. Are internships compulsory?
No, internships are not compulsory, but what we have found is that those who do the internships and the right internships are almost guaranteed to get a job when they graduate, right? So we have seen a lot of students who, and I think in terms of the business school, most of our students would complete 2, 3, if not even 4 internships by the time they graduate.
I see, okay. Right. And do all the career guidance advise them on how they can start on their first internships?
Well, for all Year 1 students, they'll come in, there will be classes that will teach them the basics, right, in terms of their career search strategy right from Year 1, right, and then they will also be taught about CVs, how to handle interviews. They will also be have the ability to actually go and attend talks, right? Talks that are of the different industries, that they can find out more about each different industry, how they can get in there. Of course, we have got recruiters coming on campus, right, or through video, to talk about the different career prospects and internship opportunities within their companies. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, and next, Prof. So if I'm a student taking Innovation and Entrepreneurship specialization, which is pretty new, what can I expect to learn? And also, what are some of the career opportunities?
So, I mean, the obvious, of course, is if you're interested in starting a startup, or becoming involved in the startup ecology, that's the obvious career path, if you will. But of course, the notions of what we teach involves also technology strategy, involves issues of innovation management, the people surrounding it, the different implementations in the organizations. And so beyond that, there are career pathways such as product managers at the big tech companies that are also immensely valuable for the specialization that we offer.
Okay, and also for business economics, what can people expect to learn, and also what are some of the career pathways at the end of the day?
Okay, so for business economics, pretty much, as the name suggests, is business economics. So we make full use of the foundation of economics, which is primarily demand and supply, and how students are able to incorporate the theoretical and the application of demand and supply in a business environment. So they learned a little bit more in terms of applying how business would strategize based on different market structures, and then using the tools and the policies based on regulations, and in any competitive environments, what is the so-called strategies that businesses will actually go for in order to sustain or to ensure that they have competitive advantages and business sustainability. Now, in terms of the job prospects for business economics students, they can actually branch out. There is some overlap between business economics and finance in terms of job opportunities. It's not to say that, but the added advantage that for business economics students would have is that they can also go into what we call government organizations, not just in the private sector or corporate sector, where I think most students will probably feel that they'll probably be leaning towards the banks or financial institutions. But it's not to say that it's only banks and financial institutions that will hire business economics students. You also have government sectors, even management consultancies will also hire economic students, because we do incorporate a wide mix of research-based as well as theory components in the entire specialization. So this is something that I think students can look forward to if they have this particular specialization.
Okay, there's one question that I haven't really quite figured out, even now as a year 3 student, is what's the difference between taking economics in business school and taking econs in FASS? Okay,
so the example that I use is that in FASS, economics is very math-based, and they focus a lot on teaching you statistical approaches for research. So it's very, very numbers-based. So what they teach you in FASS economics is simply how you get 1 + 1 = 2, for example. All right, or any other formulas like that. But in business economics, here in business school, we show you what that 1 + 1 = 2, and we actually teach you that now that you know 1 + 1 = 2, what does the 2 imply? And now if you know this process of addition, how does it actually help you in the business environment? So you can see that we don't really focus so much on crunching the numbers, but we are more focused on applying what you understand in any business environment and business setting. This is what we're saying, that we're more focused on application. Of course, not to say that we don't have numbers involved, but we are more primarily focused on how students are able to apply what they learn. After all, what's the point of us teaching you a formula? For example, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, when you don't even know how to use it, right? So this is what we're more focused on, application.
Okay, that's a really good answer. Okay, and now to you, Yi-Huen. I was talking on LinkedIn before this, and I understand that you are quite active in the entrepreneurship space, and you have your own podcast of your own where you interview startup founders. So how does this out-of-school entrepreneurship aspirations kind of lead you to choose your specialization in NUS Business School?
I think that NUS Business School gives us a lot of opportunities for us to really explore what you want. So especially for like the year 1 and year 2, you get really like sort of a taster of all the different specializations. You can do like basic economics, basic marketing and stuff like that. So I think through that you're able to find what you like and apply that and choose your spec as well. On top of that, I feel that they give you a lot of like co-curricular activities as well, so you get to join a lot of business clubs where you get to do a whole range of different things that can help you explore your specialization as well. So linking that to the podcast, I think having the opportunity and the outreach of like NUS Business School to be able to like talk to different startup founders who might have been alumni in the past would really help me as well, like to really like get connected and launch a podcast episode with them. So I think the end point is this, is that joining NUS Business School really gives you a lot of opportunities to really explore what you want to do and apply that practically outside in your side hustles as well. Yeah.
Awesome, and I believe just like what Prof. Ang said, right, the career pathways are not just limited to starting your own startup, because right now I believe you are doing marketing in IBM, right?
Yeah.
So how did that kind of help you in your application and landing this role?
I think starting your side hustle is something that is quite encouraged in business school, and many students have their own side hustles as well. And I think that really helps you stand out in interviews, so you get to share more on what you do outside of just curriculum as well, and to share like how this can lead to practical application of what you learn in business school. And that really helps you stand out because it puts you in a unique advantage because you have something special to share, something that the other applicants for the particular role might not have.
Okay. Now, I have another question from Mr. Kenneth Lam here. How do you think NUS kind of equip people to be ready for real-world projects? Because things like, say, entrepreneurship and innovation, people are always talking about how you need to deal with real-life projects in order to get a first-hand experience, right, to apply them in their future roles. So how are the students getting geared up in NUS Business School?
I think it's a whole, where part of entrepreneurship is basically a lot of self-awareness, a lot of self-start, right? Trying to do things of your own, right? Now, a couple of things, just now we talked about internships, right? So you realize that a number of our students who eventually start their own businesses, right, will start in startups, getting the right experiences for themselves, right? And then they, but it is what else do they do outside of the curriculum, right? I've seen one particular student who not part of the curriculum, but he learned programming, but that is part of his journey to becoming a data scientist, right? And so you realize is that you can do a lot of different things, but ultimately when you look at positions that are out there, right? Even the bigger companies, tech companies, they'll look at you, have you done your startups, right? Have you done that kind of experience, right? So it really depends on what is it that you're interested in, right? And build and start gathering and learning those digital skills that is going to help you to get where you want to. Now, I give you another example, right? We had one graduate before he even started here at the business school, right? He already has his own film company, right? So the question is that, hey, why do you even bother to join us at the business school if your entire career is going to be in film? Is it, well, in film, right, he picked up all the technical skills, but it is only in business school that teach him how to run the business, right? The accounting, right? The analysis, the marketing, right? And that helps him in terms of launching his business to a next level.
Okay. And Prof, what's your take on how students can get first-hand experience with real-world projects in the specialization?
So I think there's a lot, from coursework all the way to internships, as we've talked about, all the way to different programs like NOC and whatnot. So I'll start with coursework. So for instance, we understand that the notion of innovation entrepreneurship is very real-world applied, and to echo Mark's point, there's a lot of theory involved and research involved, and we believe in that. We believe our curriculum is very theory research-based, but it has a huge basis in real applications. So a lot of the innovation and entrepreneurship courses are taught through case-based courses where you learn about real-world scenarios. You sort of put yourself in the protagonist's shoes and think about what you would do. So that's from the coursework side. We also have a huge network of guest lecturers through the connections of both alumni as well as different incubators, at least for my courses that's in new venture creation. So we work with incubators like Entrepreneur First, Antler, so on and so forth, would come and offer guest lecturing. Now this is great on two behalves in the way that, first of all, you get to learn from the actual practitioners, and also it's a great networking opportunity which will eventually result in internships, or if you're interested in joining an incubator, for instance, it's a great leg up in that way. And then finally, the synergy with programs like the NOC program, with programs of the various internships that are offered that you can leverage of both coursework, your experience of networking within the coursework and guest lecturing, and as well as these programs to get a more holistic real-world experience.
I think those are three really good points that you mentioned. I personally am taking innovation and entrepreneurship, and some of my professors have brought down really cool guest speakers. They're ex-founders or they're investors, so you can kind of understand the mindset of a founder and the founding story and the challenges, as well as how it's like to think in the mindset of an investor looking at a startup. And on top of that, I'm doing a NUS Overseas College internship right now, a couple of streets down at Quest Ventures, and I get a whole get a real world application right there. And I think some of the things I learned in my innovation modules have transferred over to my current internship right now. Now back to business economics. No, we have not forgotten the other specialization.
I'm surprised. Okay.
Yes,
sure.
we have not. Okay.
Yes.
So you tell me like all the fancy terms that I personally don't understand. My question right here, right? Economics in this day and age right now is so bizarre. We have things like negative interest rates, quantitative easing, which no clue about. But how are the students prepared to deal with all these crazy scenarios?
Okay, so when it comes to business economics, generally there are two branches of economics. There's always the managerial as well as the macro. But in business school, we kind of relate it from the macro to what we call global economy instead. So if you're looking at what you have just mentioned in terms of negative interest rates, quantitative easings, these are all what we say policies used by various countries given what they are experiencing. So for example, a very good example is that you can see that right now we have the COVID-19 situation. It's a global pandemic. So many countries, certain, for example, like European countries, or maybe like even Japan, Asian countries, they have gone to what we call quantitative easing, or even gone to what we call a negative interest rate. So to keep things very simply, these are the policies that you will learn in the macroeconomics or the global economic modules. But just to keep things short and sweet, is that negative interest rates, you can just simply think of it as banks charging consumers interest rates for depositing money with them. So by doing so, consumers will not want to put money in the bank. They rather use the money and they will have to spend the money instead. So by spending, you will boost consumption and then you will boost GDP of the economy. Quantitative easing, on the other hand, it actually started, it has been used for quite some time now, but it was actually more commonly seen about 10 years ago during the, I would say, the global financial crisis from the US, where the whole idea was that the US actually came in and trying to revive the banking sector of the US economy. They actually bought up a lot of bad debts or bad corporate debts or junk bonds from the financial institutions, and so as to clean up the balance sheet, and so that it's, number one, it could inject confidence into the financial institutions in the US banking industry, and number two, banks or commercial banks now in the US will probably have more money now to lend the money out again, so that consumers can borrow and then they can actually spend. So these are just certain types of policies that governments or central banks around the world can use to boost the economic activity of a country. Of course, in terms of Singapore's context, it's a little bit different. So if students are interested to know what's going on in Singapore's context, then maybe they should take a business economics module.
So Ian, have you been taking notes? So I understand that you did your core module in Econs under Mr. Mark Gunn. How is that module like, and how is he as a prof?
You can be as honest as you want.
Oh.
You can be as
so generally, I think I quite enjoy the modules taught by NUS professors and lecturers.
Yeah.
Because I think more than just like giving the theory stuff, I think what they said was true, that there's a lot of real world examples and guest lecturers that are being brought in as well. Even in some of my modules where we get to talk to practitioners, current practitioners who are in the industry, and they get to share their real world advice on, like, you know, how do I tackle this module, and how will this lead to a career in that particular specialization. So I think so far all the lessons that I took in NUS Business School have been quite engaging, and I really quite enjoy the delivery of the modules as well. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, we don't have much time left because next up in 10 minutes time we have another panel session with a couple of my friends as well. It's on finance, analytics and operations. So do tune in 10 minutes time to catch that next panel. But that's all we have for this panel. Thank you so much to our fellow panelists for joining us today. I think we learned quite a fair bit about business economics as well as innovation and entrepreneurship specialization from different perspectives. And of course, if you have any more questions, do head on over to NUS Business website and read our FAQs as well as more information over there. If not, you can leave more questions in the Facebook Live comments down below and our admin will get back to you shortly. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you in 10 minutes time for finance, analytics and operations.